Hello and welcome back to Bookish. Welcome back to Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly kind of wrap up of my reading and other things going on BookTube, book-wise. This will probably be a lot shorter. I don't have anything controversial, nothing to pick a fight with Steve Donahue or anybody else here about. So no drama. If I don't have anything like that to talk about, so I'm just going to start off by kind of updating you on my reading. It is Faulkner in August, and for Faulkner in August 2020, we are reading William Faulkner's The Sound and the Fury. We made it through section 3 and on to the last section, section 4 for next week. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is my absolute favorite William Faulkner novel, and since I think this is my 4th reread, I'm going to tell you it may be my favorite novel of all time right now, even though I did also reread Beloved this year, which I'm increasingly convinced that Beloved may be the greatest American novel ever written. Anyway, so that's going well. You know, Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, Una and Crypto, Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books. Let's see, Rajathon is in on it, and Sluggish Reader has joined with us, and it's just really been great. Oh, and I forgot Jack from Rambling Raconteur. We've really been having a great time. Really appreciate everybody who's participated, whether you're part of the Voxer group or you are a part or commenting. The comments I've gotten on my videos have been just great, and I appreciate it. I think I mentioned last week that I was going to start a buddy read with Patrice Jones, you know, commentator extraordinaire here on BookTube, and we did. We started reading All Aunt Hager's Children by Edward P. Jones. We are going to be up to the 4th story in the book by Sunday, and I will say that Patrice and I agree that Jones is a great writer. We do sometimes question, you know, exactly what he's up to in his stories. His stories seem to be kind of vague in their meaning or their import, even sometimes in their endings. But I am enjoying reading them, and I'm particularly enjoying getting to read them with Patrice. This is Women in Translations Month, and so I did begin reading, I'll hold it this way, I did begin reading some of the short stories of Clarice Lispector, who was Brazilian, wrote in Portuguese, I believe. And so this counts for my Women in Translation Month. I've only read 2 of these stories, and both of them were unique. I don't think that either one is necessarily technically different. I don't think they're form challenging or anything like that, but they were both really enjoyable and very distinct in their worldview. The second being deeply psychological in terms of the relationship between the main character and I guess what I'm going to call her love interest. That was really interesting, and I'm not sure I quite understood all of it, which I think is part of what you find out when you're really reading Lispector. I also have picked up and continued my reading of Lakota America by Pekka Hamalainen. This is a history of the Lakota people who are part of the greater Sioux nation, and I'm still really enjoying this. I noticed that Justin over at Justin, aka Ghostreader, is also reading this for the History Challenge thing that he and some of the other booktubers are doing, and he and I both agree that it's a good book. I think we agree it's a good book and we're enjoying it, but the reading is really dense. There's just a tremendous amount of information, and it all feels new to me, and so I've really been enjoying that. So I've been reading at a number of books. 4 books I've read from this week. I only finished 1, and that was Waitu Moore's memoir, The Dragons, the Giant, and the Women. Several people on BookTube have read and reviewed this recently, most notably, I guess, in my memory, Britta Bohler did a review on it, did a partial review on it for her Tops and Flops from July, and I think she included it as kind of a flop. I liked it much more than Britta did, but I think I liked it maybe more than she did, because the topic interests me. I've mentioned here several times that I have an interest in kind of historical events from the 20th century that took place in sub-Saharan Africa. And this memoir is set during the Civil War, which takes place in Liberia, which brought Charles Johnson to power and saw the kind of gruesome videotaped murder/execution of their former leader, a man named Doe. But Waiatu Moore's family was caught up in that Civil War. And so this is largely a memoir of that. And the parts of the memoir which were about that, her life in Liberia, her family's attempt to escape, how they got out, that to me was fascinating. I also was really interested in Waiatu Moore's life growing up here in the United States, since she lived in the United States, I think from around the age of 5 or 6, and her having to deal with racism and microaggressions, micro-racist aggressions here in the United States, and overt and direct racism. And there is a parallel to be drawn between the event, which I won't describe to you here, and the events that took place in Liberia. But the story and the memoir are felt a little bit haphazard and a little bit unexplained. As you go along, I think you clearly pick up on the idea that Waiatu Moore is suffering from what we call post-traumatic stress because of this. She has bad dreams at times, and she becomes kind of obsessed with a woman who played a key role in her and her family getting out of Liberia. She goes back to Liberia and has kind of epiphany. One of the great things is the story of her mother, who was actually in the United States studying at the time of the Civil War in Liberia, and what her mother did to help get the family out. It was really, to me, really interesting. But in terms of criticism of the writing and the organization, I would say I think a lot of those criticisms are valid. The writing at times feels kind of lyrical, and at times it just feels kind of choppy, and there's sections in terms of the organization. There's one whole section which I'm not exactly sure why that section is in the book, but anyway, I did enjoy reading it. I did think it was really interesting, and I will look to pick up Waiatu Moore's novel, which was called, I just forgot it, She Would Be King, at some point in the future. And as a part of the BookTube Prize, I think I've read more memoirs this year than I ever have probably in my whole life. It's not a form, it's not a genre, I guess, that I normally seek out. It's not something I enjoy, and even though I read some great memoirs this year, The Yellow House by Sarah M. Broom, Made by Stephanie Land, In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, even though I read some great memoirs this year, I kind of run into the same problems with all memoirs, and that is, Ike's under the desk, by the way. There he goes. I was afraid he was going to bark. I run into the same problem with all memoirs, and that is, since it is literally telling the story of your life and how it was impacted by an event or something that happened in your life, a lot of times the information in it to me seems to drag, and I oftentimes question the relevance of information that's included in the memoir. And while I'm sure and certain, oh, by the way, I also read The Collected Schizophrenias. That was another kind of memoir book that I read by, I gotta remember the author's name, Weijing Wang, I believe. Yes, Esme Weijing Wang. Also a good memoir. But I run into the same problem all the time with memoirs, and that is there are sections and parts where I'm just like, I don't know why this was included. I don't understand why the author chose to write about this. And that those sections of memoirs often drag for me. Even with Patti Smith's Just Kids, there were whole sections that I thought, okay, I'm not exactly sure why this is included. This doesn't seem to hold a tremendous amount of interest. This seems to be vague, and I'm not sure how it relates to what I believe the theme of the memoir is. That's kind of a problem I have with memoirs. So, I guess to ask a question, which I sometimes do, is that a problem that any of you have with memoirs, or is it just me and not really being a fan of the form? So, there's that this coming up week. I am hoping to finish Lakota America. We'll continue my buddy read with Patrice Jones of the book of Edward P. Jones stories. I'll try to sneak in another story or two from Clarice Lispector, and again we're finishing up The Sound and the Fury this week for Faulkner in August, and then I want to start also next week. I'm hoping to be able to start a new novel, and I haven't decided exactly what that novel will be. So there you go. That's kind of my reading week, my rambly thoughts about memoirs, which you may be reacting to what I said about memoirs in the exact way in which I just said I reacted to memoirs. Oftentimes I do a shout out on this channel, and so I want to draw your attention to one video that I watched this week, which I thought was exceptional, and this is from a channel that I've shouted out before. The channel is called The Pearl Review. The creator of theirs name is Nicole, and she does just beautiful booktube videos, I think, with her doing kind of a voiceover and oftentimes shifting scenes and images. I just admire, I should say, anything in booktube that is different than what I do here. I don't have the creativity or the patience to do what she did, but she did a video about the book Vanishing New York, which I just thought was incredibly charming and informative and just really well done. So I'll leave a link to that video down below. As always, look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.